Now, to a new interview with Lord Coe, who says he's never been more prepared for a race in his life as he bids to become the new president of the International Olympics Committee. He's currently the World Athletics President, but is now looking to succeed Thomas Bach as the IOC President.
I've been in training for this. Crucially, I think I can make a difference, and I do have a plan. I do have to present a manifesto in the next month or so. And that'll be very clear, the direction I think the organisation needs to go. But the most important thing for me is that we have some very big challenges ahead. We have commercial challenges, we have broadcast challenges, we're in a very complicated, I don't really need to spell this out, probably one of the most complicated geopolitical landscapes we've ever had to confront. And I have managed and navigated my way through that landscape for the last 30 years. So I don't know how tough this is going to be, but I don't think I've ever been better prepared for a race than this one.
In terms of some of the things you want to do, you have a track record that is on the record with issues around doping, Russia and the protection of women's sport. Do you reiterate your position on those? Because you've gone on the record, I suppose you can't really go back for a position you've already laid out clearly.
No, they all coalesce around one really important concept, and that is integrity, the integrity of competition. You know, Russia was not about politics or passports, it was about the integrity of sport. The incursion into doping that made competition for many almost valueless. The protection of the female category, for me, is entirely non-negotiable. If you do not protect the female category in sport, then you will lose female sport, women's sport, and that is not something I'm prepared to sit the dance out on.
It was our senior reporter, Geraint Hughes, interviewing Seb Coe there. He joins me now. Good evening once again to you Geraint. The next Olympics is LA 2028. It's been quite busy in the US in the last few weeks. What did he have to say about the impact that Donald Trump might have on the Games?
This does have an impact. The election victory for President-elect Donald Trump, the FIFA World Cup 2026, but also the Los Angeles Olympic Games of 2028. You know, Seb Coe is going to have a lot on his agenda when he publicly announces his manifesto when he runs for the president of the IOC. I think we just got a little bit of a taster of some of the issues, mainly which he's tackled head-on in his current role as the president of World Athletics. We heard there the protection of the female category. That was very topical during the Paris Olympic Games just gone, but also doping, Russia, geopolitics, Middle East, etc. as well. But Donald Trump and the US come into this as well. A lot of Donald Trump's views may jar with a number of people within the IOC, but within sport as well. The athletes, a number of the athletes now, they have much larger voice than they perhaps had a decade or so ago, and they're not frightened of using it. And that could happen, and so there needs to be negotiations. Diplomacy needs to run free. So, listen, I talked to Coe about that. If he were to win the election next March and become the president of the IOC, how he would, I think, talk with Donald Trump now ahead of those games in LA 2028. So, yeah, had a chat with him. This is what he had to say about potentially speaking with Donald Trump.
You talk with him in the way that you would talk to any leader of a country that is staging an Olympic Games.
But he has some opinions which may jar.
That is for discussion. But I am presupposing that, like any president of the United States, his first ambition would want to have an outstanding Olympic Games. I competed in 1984. They were an outstanding Games. I cannot imagine that he would be unlike any other American president that wouldn't want those Games to be hugely successful, both in showcasing his own country and embracing the rest of the world.
And you said before, Geraint, he has a lot on his plate because as well as going for the IOC presidency, he's also the chair of the Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force. I mean, has he got time for both?
I asked him that directly, and he gave me a very wry smile, and he says, I've got the energy and I've got the time. He he's always got a very full inbox, and he's the current president of World Athletics, but he's away from sport. Business, he's very successful. For 8 years, he effectively ran London 2012 to deliver those Olympic Games and sign them off. They had 12 months afterwards to sort of, close the business, reap the rewards of those games, which they were successful back in 2012 as well. So he's kind of got a rich history of successes. Again, before we get to about, essentially it's about Manchester United, the question I was asking him there, but about he's been a serial winner. He's won on the track as a sportsman. He's won in business. He's won in sports administration. This is going to be tough because there are some people within the IOC that love Seb Coe, but there are other people in there that are lukewarm to Seb Coe. He knows that. He knows that. He's really, really clear about that. It's going to be a very, very tough election to win. I think he said it's maybe not the toughest race he's ever had because he's had some tough things happen in his life. However, he feels he's more prepared because of all the experience he's had. This is the job he's been ready for since he was a kid, essentially. However, the timescale is tight. Today was the first time he's spoken to anybody about his decision to run and what he's going to do and why for the presidency of the IOC. He will then publish his manifesto. Then at the end of January, he gets 15 minutes, and the 6 other candidates that's all they get to present to the IOC. There's no Q&A. I don't think there is. No, it's just a presentation. And then there's an election in Greece in March. The time is tight. Time scale is tight. He's got to get it right. This is the job he really, really wants. And he's also currently chairing, as you say, the Old Trafford Regeneration Force. If Manchester United, anything to do with Manchester United is not high profile, then nothing is. Because around the team, obviously with the new manager coming in, Erik ten Hag, but also the redevelopment or refurbishment of Old Trafford. It's not just Manchester, it's not just the UK, it's global. And he knows that, but he's absolutely assured me today as well. Initially, I asked a straight question. Do you have the time? Do you have the energy to remain as the chair of this task force? This was his answer.
First of all, I have the energy. I certainly have the time. And I absolutely have the focus. And that is what I'm thinking about now. And that's the way I go into all those activities.
So just on the timescale, you don't have to step away from anything because of the timescale of this IOC presidency?
No, I have flexibility to focus the bulk of my attention on this campaign, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
A man who always seizes the day, just like you, Geraint.
He's clear, though. Yeah. He's clear. He's staying as chair of that of that task force for United.
Good stuff, Geraint, and a great interview as well. Thanks very much indeed. Right, let's move on to